I built a guest house in my parents' backyard with my savings thinking it was mine. Dad gave me my bags when it was done. He said your sister needs it more. I left silently, realizing. They panicked and called me a week later. No idea where to begin. Still can't believe it happened. I tried to make smart decisions for my future for years. I wasn't careless with money. I did everything correctly. When I realized buying a house was too expensive, my parents suggested building a small guest house on their property. Their sound was perfect. Mom said it's always yours. This is a future investment, sweetheart. They convinced me. I used all my spare cash. All my time, weekends and days off. I worked with contractors to ensure quality. I chose the flooring, cabinets, and other personal touches. I imagined living in that house for months. It was my home, not just extra space. My refuge. When it was finished and I was supposed to move in, my dad handed me my bags and said the words that still make my stomach turn. Sister needs it more than you. Just like that. I was nothing. I hated how casual they were. No epalegi. Without hesitation. Their decision was made before they told me. I stared at him, waiting for him to laugh. Tell me he joked. He wasn't. I looked at my mom, expecting guilt or hesitation. She sighed and smiled like this was normal. You're young, Emily. No husband, no kids, you'll figure it out. Your sister? This helps her start life. My stomach sank. You claimed this was my home. My voice shook. Mama sighed like I was dramatic. Dear, it's still family. Family aids family. I looked at my sister standing there, not even pretending to feel bad. It's not like you needed him, she shrugged. You weren't paying rent either. I nearly laughed. For its insanity. Not its humor. I paid everything. Everything. Construction, materials, labor, appliances. Each cent was mine. They now think I'm selfish for wanting to live in my house. I wanted to scream. I wanted to fight for my rights. But then I saw them. I knew nothing would change. Their decision was made. They never intended for me to live there. They just wanted me to build it. Can't remember packing my bags. I remember walking away from my hand-built house. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. Just left. I think that confused them most. Maybe they expected me to beg. Try negotiating. To defend what was mine. I was exhausted. So I left. True silence began then. No calls at first. Not checked in. I think they expected me to crawl back. Plumbing, electrical, last coat of paint. I told him it was wrong. Let the professionals finish, I told him. But he laughed. Your worry is excessive, Emily. My man is skilled. Why waste more cash? Got rid of it. After all, I was moving in. Whenever something went wrong, I handled it. But no. Now it was my sister's issue. Calls began a week later. My mom first. Leave it on voicemail. Next, sister. I ignored her. Then dad. When I checked my phone, I had 6 missed calls. Finally listened to my mom's voicemail. Her voice was strained and angry. Unapologetic. Emily, the guest house has a major problem, whether you did or knew. It smells bad inside. The plumbing leaks into the walls. But for the first time, it wasn't my problem. I didn't touch that house. I hadn't sabotaged or left anything unfinished. All I did was leave. 1 week later, it was falling apart. I sat with my phone in my lap, viewing missed calls. I should have felt satisfaction, anger, or relief. But mostly I felt empty. Because it wasn't just the house. My time and money weren't the issue. It was about everything before that moment. Because I knew deep down, my family had never treated me like my sister. But I believed that if I worked hard, was useful, and was good, they would value me equally. I spent my whole life trying to impress people who would never choose me. And this was the last proof. She did nothing wrong. I was always to blame for fights. Lisa could lie to my parents about house problems, and they would still blame me. She's younger than Emily. Example setting is required. Her phone, wallet, and passport. Apparently, I was sent to fix it. The worst part? The man was never thankful. Not once. Not when I covered her class absence. Not when I gave her money after she spent her allowance. Not when she crashed my car and told my parents I was to blame. And my parents? They never considered fairness. They wanted Lisa happy. Remembering when I realized how deep that went. Summer before college. I was saving every penny from my part-time job to buy a used car and stop taking rides. My parents promised to match my savings, so I worked all summer and spent little. Lisa crashed her car 2 weeks before I was supposed to buy it. No minor accident. A total loss. The next day, my parents gave her all my savings to buy a car. My mom told me Lisa needs it more when I confronted her. Your college departure is imminent. She must get to school. I stood silently stunned. I was never asked. Didn't even consider the injustice. They labeled me selfish for expressing my anger. Emily, we're a family, my dad said, shaking his head. Understanding comes with age. Yes. Another call. After sighing, I picked up. It was my father. His voice strained. Frustrated. Emily, what's with the house? I blinked. You mean what? Know what I mean? I did nothing. You chose that cheap contractor against my advice. Maybe call him. Another pause. He didn't expect me to resist. Emily, we don't have the money to fix this. There was. I hung up. Calls continued for several days.
Lisa, my parents, etc.
Anger and demand. Some manipulated me by claiming to be worried. I ignored them all. Then something changed. Other relatives started messaging me. A few cousins initially asked if I was okay. Then aunt. Then uncle. Finally my grandmother. Emily darling. Your mom says you left the house unfinished and abandoned them. What's happening? Closed my eyes. They wanted to turn my family against me. They were upset about more than the house. Disgraced. I was asked to return and fix things. But I wouldn't. Because the truth was finally spreading. For once I won. I delayed responding to my grandmother. Everything was clear to me. Before I could tell the story, my parents did. No more calls to me. They called everyone to spread their story first. I could imagine their framing. Emily left after we gave her free housing. She fled over nothing and left the house unfinished. We did everything for her, and she repays us. No matter that I had paid for everything and spent months building that house with my own money and effort. In their view, I was selfish and ungrateful. I knew some would believe them. That always happened. My whole life, they reshaped reality to fit their story. I wouldn't play their game. So I waited. I ignored calls. I ignored text. I watched the missed calls grow. A few days later, something changed. Messages from extended family stopped asking about my well-being and seemed different. More doubtful. More curious. Change was evident. I thought I knew why. Because my parents no longer lost control of me. They were losing house control. They stole the house. The message came from my aunt. Hey Emily, I heard the guest house is unlivable. Mold is spreading. What's happening? Staring at the text, my heart slowed. My parents didn't say that in their voicemail. They complained about plumbing and electricity. Not mold. What if it spread? That meant it wasn't minor. It sucked. Another message from my cousin appeared. Is it true that your parents cannot afford to repair the guest house? I heard Lisa's fiancé is mad because they expected to move in by now. Swallowed hard. I suspected my parents were in trouble. They expected me to fix everything when I returned. That I would do what they wanted because I'd feel guilty or desperate to be accepted again. But I didn't. No. Now they had an unlivable house that was falling apart faster than they could cover it. What's wrong with that house? She snapped when I picked up. I nearly laughed. You ask me why? I said calmly. Because she huffed. Dad said you managed everything. You collaborated with contractors. That you ensured accuracy. I did. I interjected. Until Dad cut corners and hired his own guy to finish. Perhaps you should ask him. Silence. He then hesitantly blamed you for the permits not going through. Raised eyebrow. Any permissions? She exhaled in frustration. The plumbing and electric ones. That I would handle city inspections and final approvals. The moment they kicked me out, they kicked out the only person who could finish the job legally. Now the city wouldn't let them move in. Lisa, that's not my issue. Said voice calm. She laughed sharply but not humorously. Think you're smug? I said truthfully. I wish you and Dad had thought things through before stealing my house. Emily, stop acting so dramatic. She snapped. No rent was paid. I paid for the whole house, Lisa. Silence. Long, painful silence. I could almost hear her brain processing the realization. So she knew I was right. She knew she would go insane if she built something with her own money and had it taken away. She couldn't admit it. She did what she always did. She snapped. She said coldly that you left a mess while Mom and Dad say you abandoned them. You probably know people talk. No reaction. Trying to scare me. Pressuring me to clean up their mess. People would notice inconsistencies. I wouldn't fight. I wouldn't elaborate. It wasn't necessary. Because truth always emerges. I didn't lose anything this time. Lisa didn't reply after that call. No sooner than a few days. I knew that didn't mean things were settled. Indeed, things were worsening. My parents and sister didn't take consequences quietly. Lisa went silent only because she was rushing behind the scenes, trying to fix things without admitting fault. They wouldn't get the satisfaction of reaching out first. Calls resumed as expected. From an uncle I rarely spoke to. Then from an out-of-state older cousin. Finally, from my grandmother. That's when I knew things escalated. My grandmother was the last person my parents wanted involved. She wasn't a blind supporter. She was smart, no-nonsense, and guilt-free. If she called, she heard the whole story. At least their interpretation. Picked up. Emily, sweetheart. She said warmly but firmly. I had a fascinating conversation with your mother. I smiled internally. Guess I said. She and your father are devastated that you left the family. Just a little laugh. I paid for the whole house, did she say? A pause. Then dry. I doubt she did. She didn't. What actually happened? My grandmother inquired. I admitted the truth for the first time. My parents encouraged me to build the guest house, promising it would be mine. Using my savings. I spent months managing construction, choosing materials, and making sure everything was perfect. Then they gave Lisa the finished product. Not once did my grandmother interrupt. His only response was listening. After I finished, she breathed slowly. That slow, she concluded. Yes, I muttered. I assume she continued. When things started falling apart. They expected you to crawl back? Bingo. A pause. She then said something unexpected. Come to Sunday dinner. I blinked. What? She said everyone would be there, sounding amused. I think you should tell them your side. I hesitated. Didn't I fear my parents? I stopped pleading for their approval. Calling them out in front of the family? There was another level. Grandma. I'm unsure. Her interruption wasn't meant to cause a scene. Just let them dig their own hole. I thought about it. Then I smiled slowly. All right, I said. I'll attend. Sunday dinner. I purposely arrived 10 minutes late. I felt the room change when I entered. Heard things. Some looked at me curiously. Others looked uneasy. Also, my aunt and some cousins gave me small knowing nods. They seemed to know everything. Lisa sat with her arms crossed next to my parents. She avoided my gaze. Mom faked a smile. Oh, Emily. You survived. Yes, I said, sitting. Added no surprise. The implication was there. Dinner started awkwardly. Forced small talk and knife-thick tension. As we finished, my grandmother, bless her heart, set down her glass and asked, So Lisa, how's the new house? Silence. Lisa's jaw tightened. My dad quickly said we're still having issues. My grandmother raised an eyebrow. Kind of issues? My dad cleared his throat when Lisa looked at him. Nothing major. Just some plumbing and electrical issues. Minor setbacks. I nearly laughed. Minor setbacks. They called it that. My grandmother faced me. Emily dear, did you build that house? The whole room looked at me. I sipped my drink slowly before responding. I did. Until Dad hired a cheaper contractor behind my back to save money. I told him it was wrong but shrugged. I know what, right? Incredible silence followed. Lisa reddened. My mother's fake smile twitched. My dad appeared to want to choke me. They couldn't argue. Because they knew I was right. No. As did everyone else. The whispers began. Aunt whispered to cousin. But I couldn't hear. It's unbelievable, my uncle muttered. All done. My parents lost control of the story then. Now everyone knew. Despite their excuses and deception. The damage was done. I felt lighter after dinner than in months. I didn't shout. I hadn't fought. I said nothing but let the truth speak. It was enough. My parents didn't call again. Neither did Lisa. The damage was done. First time in my life. I didn't feel down.